Heidi and I went for a ride, and Johnny wanted to ride. So I stopped here to let him kind of munch on some of this green shrubbery. And I didn't stop here on purpose. It just happened to be where I just had to pull up in the shade and let him get off and start munching. And I was noticing all the other goats are all out in the field, so they're not coming over here. I was over there with them. And they didn't follow because Johnny was riding. I think they kind of hold it against Johnny when he rides. They get a little bit upset. But I can tell you a story about this little place right here. Right here. Many, many years ago, before I ever got into the beekeeping. Yeah, I worked with a beekeeper. I've told y'all about that. He taught me basically everything I know, but up until that time, he hadn't done a whole lot of teaching. He'd just been telling me some things about his bees, and now and then I'd ride with him somewhere and check on a hive. But I was here. Our fence line is right on the other side of those two trees there, and I was working on the fence, and a bee stung me out of the clear blue sky, and that's unusual for a honeybee to come up and sting you for no reason. But then I saw other bees flying around me. I thought, oh, Lord. So I look around, and I'm standing right beside a little tree, a little hollow tree, and it had bees in it. And so immediately, not only did I kind of get away from them because they was all buzzing around me, my mind started working. You know how it does. It starts working like, hey, I could get my own bees right here. Right here. So I know enough about bees. I know just enough about bees to be dangerous. I knew Mr. Hardy used smoke to calm them down and stuff when he worked his hives. Well, I didn't have a smoker, but I did have some matches. And there was pine trees here. It was pine straw on the ground, and I know pine straw smokes like crazy. In fact, I use pine straw a lot in my smokers. A little bit goes a long ways. So I start developing a plan. Addie, I had a plan. You know some of my plans. They don't always work. I say, okay, I'll go home and get my chainsaw. I'll come back. I'll cut this little tree down. And I'll find out how much of the hollow's in it, and I'll cut on both ends of it. And if I have to, I'll put screen over the entrance. I'll get my trusted friends to come help me. And we'll move it, whatever chunk it is, up to my house. And I'll eventually get them put into a hive. That was my plan. It made sense. It made sense. So I go home and I get my chainsaw and I get some screen wire and some staples and my hammer and my matches. And I come back and I rake up a bunch of pine straw and I put it right at the bottom of the tree. That's probably the wrong thing to do. Because it not only gives up some smoke, it gave up too much smoke. I cranked my saw, I stuck the match to that pine straw, and as soon as it got going, I cranked up that saw, and them bees don't like chainsaws. They don't like too much smoke. They didn't like an intruder here messing with them. I didn't have a bee suit. Between cutting that tree and slapping bees, I got stung at least a dozen times. Thankfully, I'm not allergic. Thankfully. So I go back home. I get the tree down. And bees are just all over me. And luckily, I didn't cut into the hollow, just a little bit of the hollow in the bottom. And a bunch of bees started coming out. I grabbed my screen wire and I tack it over it and the entrance. Okay, no more bees are coming out. But there's still bees coming home. There's still bees. What are you doing? I'm telling a story, Moses. You're not going to come down here like Ivan and start trouble. Tell him, Johnny. No, sir. Hang on, folks. You can't tell a story without the interruptions. Moses, stop. Stop, son. Hang on, folks. Okay, I'm back. Moses and Johnny having cookies. Anyway, I get the tree cut down. I get the screen wire over the bottom and over the entrance. Still getting stung a little bit. Bees coming home and they can't get in and they see something's happened to the house. They're not happy. The tree's laying down, so I start cutting from the top, cutting back to where the hollow is, and that's where I would stop. And I finally got to it, and bees come pouring out of there. Bees everywhere. And I'm getting stung. I'm serious. I must have had, I don't know how many whelps I had on me that were stinging me. Not very smart, Pawpaw. I grab some more screen, I tack over that hole, jump in my truck, and I take off. I let things calm down. I come back later, I'm right here, Johnny, with my plan to lay 2 2x4s on the ground and roll a little tree over on them so they'll be like handles as soon as I can get some help to come move it. I called Cuz. And I forget Cuz wasn't home or he had something to do or couldn't make it, whatever. He didn't come. I called Kenny. Oh, yeah. I explained to Kenny what I had. I didn't tell him about getting stung. I'll be right over, Pawpaw. So we're going to do it when it gets dark. They'll all be settled down. I'll be there. You always count on Kenny. I called Doc. And Doc said, oh yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. Then I called my nephew, Bubba, and he said, yeah, I'll come. I'll be glad to come help you, Pawpaw. And I called a friend of ours named Roy. So that gives us 4 people to carry and 1 people to hold the light. I planned on holding the light because someone needs to be in charge. Well, I got voted out of that job. When they got here, Kenny grabs the light. I'll do the light. So Roy and I think Doc got on the front board, one on each side of that log, and there were some bees clustered on top of the log by those screens that couldn't get in. But they were calm. It was nighttime. And then me and my nephew, or Bubba, or Roy, I forget which one helped me on the back. Anyway, another one, I got on one side of the back, and the other one got on it. And we pick it up. It wasn't that bad. Trucks parked right over the tailgate down. The kiddies hold the light so for us to walk trail. And we start going toward the truck. Well, it was an old fence we had to cross, an old fence. It wasn't knee high. Just a piece of a fence, I guess you call it. And we had to climb over it, or step over it. It wasn't hard. But the guys in the back, which I was one of them, we didn't pick it up high enough, and that barbed wire hooked onto that screen and jerks it off. Bees come pouring out of there by the thousands. Because all that juggling around, moving around, and you know, they was mad. And everybody scatters. They running like deer through the woods. And the bees, I don't know if they couldn't find us or what, but Kenny wouldn't turn the light off. Wherever Kenny shined the light on a person, the bees would hit that beam and sting that person. It was all getting stung. And we're hollering, turn the light off, turn the light off. With Doc, poor old Doc. You leaving, son? Good. Eat all the cookies, then you can go home, go back to your lady friends. Moses, he's spoiled rotten too. So, we find out who does all this spoiling, Hattie, they're gonna be in trouble. So anyway, Kenny turns the light on Doc. Doc's running out across this field, right out across here. And he's holding the light on the back of Doc's head. You know, Doc don't have no hair. And you can see these bees like little airplanes going down that beam. You can see them. You can see them. And they went down and was hitting Doc in the back of his head. Zap, 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 zap. 5 or 6 times right in the back of his old head. Doc said bad words about Kenny. Turned that light off. But he used bad words. Well, we all rendezvoused out in the middle of that field. You know, examining ourselves and comparing wounds that we had. Doc was the worst. It was all on his head. It took a long time. I sat standing out in the middle of the field in the dark. It took a long time for me to convince these guys it can be done. If they just bear with me, I would go back alone, get the screen back over that log, and then we'll try it again. A lot of convincing took place, lots of promises, I guess. I don't know what all I promised them. I never called them again, maybe. But anyway, they agreed, so we come back. I come first with the light. I lay it down just where I just kind of get a glare. I can just see to put that wire back and staple it. And I wasn't going to have hold that light because it'd come after me. Now, I didn't want it to shine on me, just kind of a faint glare on that log. When I got it done, I called them. Here they come. Not a problem. We carried it, slid it up the back of our truck, throwed the boards in there, and they thought that would be the end of it. I said, no, you got to help me unload it. Well, a lot of other choice words come from them. But they did. We drove up behind the barn and found a place that we set it off where I wanted it, where I was going to work on it at, getting them out of that tree into this box. And then they all go home. You could not go out behind, and I went the next morning early, I went out and pulled that screen off so it could get in and out for food and water. It couldn't be, trapped in there. But anytime you went out behind that barn, bees would get after you. They were mean bees. I think that was back before killer bees showed up, the Africanized killer bees. That was before. I think these were forerunners. These are forerunners of those bees, Heidi. Forerunners. You could go behind that barn. The cows wouldn't come up around that barn, they get stung. I don't mean just, pile on you, but you want to come by and just zap you for the heck of it. Zap you. So I said to my boss about it at work, and I think that's probably when he started feeling sorry for me and trying to be a beekeeper. He said, what you need to do is take that tree back down there about where it was and set it back on the ground. Just leave it, with the screen off. He said, just leave it, they'll be okay. If they run out of room, they'll swarm and go to get a better house. But he said, they'll be okay. All right, that was my plan. And he said, then, he said, I'll help you get you a hive, which he later on did. And do it right. So that should be the end of the story, but, it wasn't. I was at church, and I was telling a friend of mine, he's a song leader. And his name was Rick. I tell about these bees, and I'm going to take them back to the woods and stuff like that. Oh, no, man. He said, give them to me. Give them to me. He said, I'll come get them. He said, I'll fix them up. And he actually had an elaborate plan. He was going to take like a hive and turn this log up, set on top of hive, and he cut like a hole in a hive. The bees would have to come down through that hive. That's where the frames would be for them to build comb. That probably would have worked. He would tie where it couldn't fall off that box. Once they ever moved into the box, he had to get rid of the tree. That might have worked. It probably would have worked. Especially if you tried to smoke them down from the top. I learned things like this later on. So I said, yeah, you can have them. But it's still not the end of the story, because he come and get them, him and his neighbor. And they was gonna haul them without putting a screen on there, and them bees ate them guys up out there at that barn. But they got it loaded. And took them home and set them out. Well, every time his wife come out, they'd sting her. But now they got a divorce. Cuz of them said it's my fault. They said them bees caused the divorce that you sent up there, them killer bees. Now I asked Rick, was that my fault? He said, oh, no, Papa, there's something else going on, but I don't know. I don't know. They blame me. So, the only thing I learned out of this, well, I learned several things. Be careful what you give people that may be having some marital issues, because it could rock the boat too much. And I learned that about giving somebody bees that may have been having some issues at home, and especially killer bees. And I learned not to mess with bees if you don't know what you're doing, and not to mess with bees if you don't have some equipment, you know, the suit, the netting over your face, a smoker, and be protected. Even good bees get angry. All right, I'm gonna cut that off. Heidi, Johnny, you ready to go? No, now, you know, Moses leaves and who shows up? I should have knew it was you. I should have knew. So, hang on, folks. You hang on. You got to stop. I'm getting it. Johnny, you hit Ivan. You hit Ivan right in the nose. Good, Johnny. All right, you can't no more, not right now. You and Moses and Johnny just kind of being a nuisance. I'm trying to tell a story. Telling a story. All right, folks, that's the end of the story. I'm gonna get home. Go put my goats up, give them some treats for I haven't eaten them all. And I hope y'all enjoyed this. True story. You guys take care. You know Heidi ain't gonna go for this. You know it ain't gonna happen. Come on, Heidi, come on. On the floor, baby. Come on. Come on, Heidi, come on. Come on. Come on. I ain't riding. I'm not riding the floor with some goat in the seat. Sorry, Johnny. Johnny, no. Can't do that. No, you better ride them girls. You've been around them girls too much. Well, Heidi wanted to run anyway, didn't she? She's out playing. This is pitiful, Johnny. Papa couldn't tell a story without Moses and Ivan. Yeah, I know it. Show it up, causing trouble. They couldn't. They're both just troublemakers. Oh, not little Johnny. Oh, no. Not little Johnny. I see your friends. I see them all waiting. All right. Yeah, I'm going to stop here and put the treats out, okay? Hope you guys like that story. I know we was interrupted. I know. It's the way it is. I love you guys.